Across the vast deserts of Arabia, beneath the searing sun and the endless skies, a story was unfolding. One that would reshape the spiritual, political, and cultural landscape of the world. The origins of Islam, a faith that today unites over 1 billion people, have long been the subject of reverence, retelling, and for some, controversy. But what is the real story behind its beginnings? What truths lie hidden in the shifting sands of history, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to look beyond the familiar tales? To understand the genesis of Islam, we must journey back to the 6th and 7th centuries CE, a time of dramatic change and unrest. The Arabian Peninsula, far from being an isolated backwater, was a crossroads of civilizations. Expansive trade routes connected the empires of Byzantium and Persia, carrying more than just goods. They brought new ideas, stories, and religious beliefs. Mecca, the birthplace of the Prophet Muhammad, stood at the heart of these networks, its marketplaces bustling with travelers from distant lands. At this time, the peninsula was home to a tapestry of tribes, each with its own customs, dialects, and deities. Polytheism was widespread, but monotheistic communities, Jewish, Christian, and others, had found a foothold in various corners. These faiths left their mark not only through worship, but also through stories and scriptures that circulated among the literate and the learned. It was against this vibrant backdrop that Muhammad, a merchant respected for his honesty, began to receive revelations. According to Islamic tradition, these messages came from the angel Gabriel, commanding Muhammad to proclaim the oneness of God and to call people to righteousness and compassion. The revelations, delivered over more than 2 decades, would later be compiled into the Quran, the central text of Islam. But as scholars have noted, the story of Islam's birth is not as simple as a single moment of divine intervention. Recent decades have seen a surge of academic interest in the early history of Islam, drawing upon archaeology, linguistics, and the careful study of ancient texts. These researchers suggest that the emergence of Islam was a complex process, one shaped by evolving social, political, and religious currents. One point of debate centers on the Quran itself. While Muslims believe it was revealed in its entirety to Muhammad, some historians argue that the text bears traces of gradual development. Linguistic analysis has uncovered linguistic forms and references that suggest interactions with neighboring cultures. Stories familiar to Jews and Christians, such as those of Adam, Noah, Moses, and Abraham, appear in the Quran, sometimes with striking similarities, other times with distinct differences. This has led some to propose that the Quran was part of a broader conversation among the monotheistic communities of the region. Moreover, the earliest physical evidence for Islam, inscriptions, coins, and documents, paints a picture of gradual transition. Inscriptions from the 1st century after Muhammad's death often blend Islamic and Christian imagery. Early coins, minted by Muslim rulers, sometimes carried Christian symbols, such as the cross, next to Arabic inscriptions praising God. These findings hint at a period in which identities were still being formed and boundaries between faiths remained porous. The compilation of the Quran is another area where tradition and scholarship sometimes diverge. Traditional accounts hold that during the reign of the 3rd Caliph, Uthman ibn Affan, the Quran was collected and standardized to preserve its integrity. Yet, some textual critics argue that variations in early Quranic manuscripts suggest a longer process of transmission and editing, reflecting the diversity of the early Muslim community. Scribes and reciters played a crucial role, preserving the revelations through memory and manuscript, sometimes recording slight differences in wording or interpretation. Far from undermining the faith, these discoveries offer a deeper appreciation of how Islam took shape. They reveal a religion that emerged from dialogue, sometimes tension, sometimes harmony, with the world around it. Islam's message of monotheism, social justice, and moral accountability resonated with many, challenging the entrenched systems of tribal loyalty and privilege. Its emphasis on charity, honesty, and community appealed to those seeking meaning and stability in a time of uncertainty. Yet it would be a mistake to see Islam's origins solely through the lens of external influence or gradual evolution. The movement that Muhammad began was profoundly original, forging a new sense of purpose and identity. The Quran's fierce advocacy for the poor, its poetic language, and its uncompromising monotheism set it apart from its contemporaries. Within a generation, Islam had united much of Arabia, and soon after its followers would carry its message across continents. For believers, the Quran remains the unaltered word of God, timeless, perfect, and complete. For historians, the text also serves as a window into the world that produced it, a world of merchants and mystics, poets and prophets, conflict and cooperation. The existence of scholarly debate does not diminish the spiritual power of Islam, nor does it erase the lived experiences of those who have found guidance and solace in its teachings. What then is the so called forbidden truth about Islam's origins? It is that the story is richer, more nuanced, and more human than many realize. Rather than a single flash of revelation, the birth of Islam was a process, one marked by inspiration, adaptation, and profound change. It was shaped by the struggles and hopes of people searching for meaning in a world on the cusp of transformation. Recognizing this complexity does not detract from Islam's message or its achievements. On the contrary, it invites us to marvel at the resilience and creativity of those early communities. It reminds us that faith is not static, it grows and adapts, drawing strength from the challenges and encounters of history. As we reflect on Islam's origins, we see not only the story of a religion, but also the story of humanity's enduring quest for truth, justice, and belonging. The lessons of that far off time echo today, urging us to seek understanding, respect diversity, and approach the past with both curiosity and humility. The truth, far from forbidden, is waiting to be discovered, layer by layer, story by story, by all who care to look.